Hey guys, welcome back to the Chandler Burton Podcast. I am your host, Chandler Burton, and this is going to be probably one of my biggest podcast episodes to date. We, of course, are going to be discussing E3 2021. Last year we did not have one due to COVID-19, so it was really exciting to have E3 come back in a sort of way. A lot of it, I think, was streamed, which I thought was pretty cool. A lot of people still need to stay safe with COVID going on, even though there's been a vaccine now. And I hope everybody is staying safe as well with COVID going on here. So again, this is going to be probably my longest podcast to date here, so I'm definitely going to break it down to the best of my ability here. So here's how we're going to kind of go through the podcast, and hopefully I organize it in a way that it's easy to understand and that you guys can enjoy it as well. So again, this podcast is going to be all about E3 2021. I'm going to go over all the presentations that I watched. Now, there are a ton of presentations that I definitely missed because, one, I just didn't really care about them. For example, there was a Capcom one or a PC one. I'm not a big Capcom person, and I don't own a PC, and so there are just some things that I skipped over. So there are going to be a few things that I missed. Also, in each presentation, there's a ton of games talked about in each category that I chose. I'm not going to go over every single game that was shown off in each of the segments here. For example, during the Xbox conference, there's a ton of games that were mentioned. I only really go over the ones that really interested me. I do go over the majority of it, so if I do miss something that you like, it's not because I don't really, not because I don't like it, it's just that it didn't really have any interest to me when I was watching it. So again, make sure that you watch all of the conferences if you are interested in those. If you do watch this or listen to this podcast on YouTube, I will link down below all of the segments that you can watch them if I did miss something that you wish I would have talked about here. Also, as well, of each presentation that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to give it like a out of 5 stars, and so I'll give my honest review at the end of when I'm done talking about each of the segments that we watched. And then, of course, halfway through, we will take a musical break to kind of break up the video game talking here. So again, I am super excited to go over all of our topics here today. Again, the ones that we're going to be talking about is going to be the Ubisoft Forward, Xbox, and Bethesda Game Showcase. Then we're also going to be talking about Square Enix, and then we're going to be talking about the Nintendo Direct. And so I'm really excited to get into it here. And then, of course, at the very end of the podcast, I will give my overall thoughts of what I thought of this E3 in general, some main things that really stood out to me. And I'm just really excited to go ahead and get into it here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin discussing E3 2021. Thank you guys again for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode of the Chandler Burton Podcast. Here we go. Okay, so to start off the podcast here, we're going to jump into the Ubisoft Forward presentation. Now, I was kind of excited about this presentation because I know Ubisoft is very hit or miss for me. They either have games that I really enjoy, or there are some games that I'm just like, I really could just care less about. I know that they're doing a brand new Star Wars game that's going to be coming out here probably within the next few years. It is an open world Star Wars game, which I am really looking forward to. I really hope it's not like a pay to win or pay as a service type game, because I feel like Star Wars definitely deserves good video games. We had so many good video games back in the day, and it's like, with these new developers, it's like, please just give us a good Star Wars game. The only new Star Wars game that I've enjoyed was Jedi Fallen Order, and that wasn't even made by Ubisoft. So I kind of digress here. Again, kind of hit or miss with Ubisoft here. So again, we're just going to go over the things that I really, that caught my eye. I don't go over every single thing at the presentation. I'm just going over a couple things I was like, okay, that looks okay, or I kind of just want to just give my thoughts on that here. So let's go and start off at the beginning. It first opens up with the Rainbow Six Extraction. It kind of looks like just Call of Duty Zombies a little bit. Like, there's really not much to it that I really saw in the trailer. It looks like the premise of the game is like it's just infected creatures taking over planet Earth. It is going to have cross-platform against all consoles, so if you are a Rainbow Six fan who likes these types of games, that's going to be really cool. If your friend has a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox or a PC, you'll be able to play as your friends no matter what the console, which is good. I think a lot of games nowadays really should honestly support cross crossplay, because gaming is gaming, and I think, you know, it doesn't matter what console you have, you should be able just to play like all those games. So I think that's really cool. But honestly, it looks a little overdone and dry for me. Like, I watched the trailer for it and I was like, you know, it just doesn't really give me the excitement that I want. And I'm not even a Rainbow Six like guy. Like, it's not really a big deal for me. I know a lot of people are looking forward to this game. I got a couple of buddies of mine that do like Rainbow Six, so I'm pretty sure they were excited. But overall for me, I just didn't really care for it that much. So the next thing that they showed in the Ubisoft presentation was going to be Rocksmith Plus. That's going to be on PC. So honestly, this game actually looks kind of cool. Rocksmith has been around for a while, and I think honestly, if you want to learn how to play guitar in a fun way, I think this game would do it for you, man. I think it'd be really cool. They didn't give a price of how much this is going to cost. It's probably going to be a little expensive, because this is a perfect game for them to like charge extra money for songs. And I completely understand, you know, if people are going to use their songs, you have to be able to give them some kind of profit. Some things that kind of stuck out to me here: it is community based. So for what I saw, that you can kind of go over your progress and kind of talk with other people, saying like, how are you doing? How's like your progression for that here? You can use acoustic guitar or electric guitar, which is pretty cool. I thought that was pretty awesome. And again, I think this is going to be definitely a games as a service, which is kind of a bummer, because like, you know, you buy the game and then you got to pay more to get the full experience, which if y'all ever played Battlefront 2015 or even Battlefront 2, you kind of know how all that went down. So my main question actually though is there going to be like any metal songs? They did mention in the presentation that they're going to have like some kind of subgenres of metal, which probably means they're going to have bands like Disturbed, like Three Doors Down, stuff like that. They're going to like take like the more iconic, probably like stuff like Killswitch Engage as well, probably more iconic metal bands. But I hope a lot of bands like in the metal genre can get into this game, because I mean, what I love about metal music is that it's all done by people. Like, obviously they use a computer to record things, but it's nothing like, you know, main artists today, they use a computer for everything. What I love about metal is that it's played by a person, someone writes the lyrics, and it's like all made from people who really just care about the music that they are creating. And I feel like metal songs are perfect for a game like this. I know metal is not a popular genre of music, but again, some of the most talented people I've seen singing, guitar playing, have been in the scene of metal music. Whether you don't like it or not, there is talent there. So I do hope they include more metal in these upcoming songs. But overall, I mean, the game looks fine. Obviously, I'm not going to buy it. I thought it'd be cool to kind of learn how to play guitar, but now that I'm going to be a little bit older, I just don't have the time or the will to sit down and actually practice. So it would be cool if I was younger. I probably would have liked this, but now that I'm older, it just doesn't really grab my attention. Overall, though, it does look cool. I am excited to see what people like, see people's progress. If they post stuff on YouTube, I'll definitely watch that as well. All right, so the next thing shown here, kind of an interesting game. I'd never even heard of this game. It's called Riders Republic. Now, from what it looks like in the trailer that we saw during the Ubisoft presentation, it looks like it's a snowboarding, dirt bike, and paragliding type of racing game with other missions kind of thrown in there as well. It does drop on September 2nd. But they didn't say what platform it's going on, so that's kind of a weird thing. I'd assume it's going to go on all platforms, but I assume it's going to definitely go on the bigger consoles like PlayStation and Xbox, which I thought was pretty cool. But again, this looks like a games of service type of game. So honestly, the first three games, Rainbow Six, Rocksmith, and Riders Republic, they started out with it being games as a service, and I'm like, I don't know if that's a good way to start your presentation. It's pretty much telling people, hey, we have these games, but you need to pay more to get the full experience, which I don't think that's fair. Don't you all miss the days of when you can just go to the store, put in a game, and just play it and the full game's in there? Those times have been gone for years, and honestly, maybe I'm just old school, but I really do miss those times. But overall, Riders Republic does look cool. If there's any kind of demo or anything like that at all, I will definitely check it out. It does look cool. So, I mean, if I like the game, maybe I'll put more time into it, but we'll see how that goes once the game drops in September. So, again, it drops on September 2nd. And then they kind of took a pause here, and they kind of went over some games that are already current and adding new content. So, we're going to go through this really quick because this part was really boring, but it did add a couple of things here. So, for example, Rainbow Six Siege, which a lot of people are still playing that game, it's going to be adding crossplay, I think next year is what they said. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are confirmed for Brawlhalla. I don't know if anybody's a fan of Brawlhalla. It's a free fighting game, and it's pretty fun. I mean, it's kind of like Smash Bros, but a little, hand-drawn animation, and I don't know, it's kind of fun. It's not too bad. It has another game they show called For Honor, and then The Crew 2. I haven't played either one of those games, so if you're all excited about that, I hope you get to enjoy that. And then they talked more about Just Dance 2022. I seriously could care less about Just Dance. It just doesn't appeal to me. Good workout if you need to work out, but honestly, I'm not a big fan of Just Dance. I know my sisters are, but I know a lot of people like those games, but for me, it's just nothing I really care about. And what's also funny too, Just Dance 2020 or 2021 actually went on the Nintendo Wii. Like, they released a brand new game for the Wii like a couple of years ago, and the Wii's been dead for the Wii came out like 2007. It blows my mind that I was like, that is insane. But Just Dance 2022 is not going on the Wii. That's just crazy that they had one on the Wii here. All right, then the last thing they showed here in the current games with the new content, they showed Assassin's Creed Valhalla, showing that there's going to be free DLC and there's going to be paid DLC, which actually kind of proves the point that we may not get another Assassin's Creed for a while. They're going to keep adding to this game. Valhalla is actually really sick. I've been playing it on and off on my PlayStation 4. Really fun game. I'm not a huge Assassin's Creed guy. I played the first two and then I kind of fallen off, but Valhalla looked really cool and definitely a good purchase for me. I actually really do like that game. Okay, so the next thing that they showed here, the next thing that I wanted to talk about here is going to be Far Cry 6. So they showed Far Cry 6 during this presentation, but they had literally released a trailer for this game like a couple days before the presentation. So I was like, it was just weird. So it also didn't show any new gameplay footage. It's just kind of like a story trailer. And then they also announced that there's going to be a season pass, which also kind of irritates me. It's like, why on earth are you guys advertising a season pass for a game that's not even out yet? If this game does horribly, which I don't think it will, Far Cry is pretty popular. And honestly, this game actually does look really sick. I'm not knocking the game. I'm just knocking them saying, we're already going to give you a season pass. And so pretty much saying the game is going to be partially done when it releases. If you want the full experience, you're going to have to pay more. That's how it was again with Battlefront from 2015. It was a $60 game, and then they released a season pass for another $50, which essentially made the game $110 plus tax, which is just completely mind-blowingly crazy to me that people are okay with that. I mean, I know it's probably like a higher up decision saying we want more money. I totally understand that, but I wish more people would understand that people love video games and they're already expensive. So I wish more people would just understand that we're not rich people. We're not rich. All right. So the last big game that they showed, excuse me, was a game that I actually didn't expect. I heard it leaked on Nintendo's website, but I didn't hear about that before. It was actually the brand new Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope. So this is a sequel to Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle, which came out on the Nintendo Switch back in 2017. I really am excited for this game, man. I absolutely adore this game. A couple of things that I took away from it here is that, honestly, this was the only thing in the presentation that I liked. It actually was a surprise because I was like, are they going to make a sequel to this game? I hope they do. And honestly, I'm so happy that they are. What's really cool as well, that it's going to be take a place in space. It's not just going to be in the Mushroom Kingdom this time. So we're going to be able to go to like different planets, different worlds from what it showed, and it looks really cool. The first game did really well for Ubisoft, so I'm actually not shocked that they are doing a sequel, but it was so quiet for a while that I was like, I really hope that we are getting a sequel to this game. I also like it as well. The tone seems a little bit darker, which is always really cool. Again, that's probably just the trailer trying to get me hype. It's probably going to be like very light-hearted adventure, which again, I love the first one, so I'm totally cool with that. There's a new villain called Cursa, which I think is really cool. I think the biggest disappointment for me for the first Kingdom Battle is that, spoiler alert, Bowser is technically the final boss in the game, and Bowser doesn't even show up at all until the last sequence of the game, and he's really freaking hard. He goes by Mega Dragon Bowser. It's one of the hardest boss battles in any video game that I played, and I mean that sincerely. It's super, super hard. Also, there are going to be some new allies. Also, Rosalina is going to get a rabbit, which I think is really cool. She's from the Mario Galaxy series, and now it's kind of become a staple in the Mario universe. They also have this thing called Sparks that'll help you out on your journey. The game drops in 2022. We don't know what month or when. I'm going to guess a summer release for this game. And then honestly, the game looks incredible. Like, the game looks really cool. The graphics look way better. And it's like, I mean, it's only a couple years after Kingdom Battle. So, I mean, I was really impressed. I was really impressed here. I really like this game. I love the first game. I literally have put 110 plus hours into Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle. When I played through it the first time, I was like, this is one of the best games that I've discovered in forever. That I literally played it again just so I can like get 100% on all the battles, get all the weapons, get everything that I needed throughout the world. And then of course they released a Donkey Kong DLC, which I thought was a ton of fun. I played that through a couple of times as well. It's seriously super hard. I actually still play it occasionally to try to beat some of the worlds, because I'm trying to get a perfect fight on all of them, and it's really hard, and I'm really struggling. I can't seem to figure it out. So hopefully I can beat it eventually. So we'll see how that goes. But overall, I got to be honest here, the presentation for Ubisoft wasn't very good. The only thing that I really honestly cared about was Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope. There are some other cool looking games in there that I didn't mention, and the other games that I did mention here in this portion of the podcast, some of them look really cool. But again, the reality of the situation is that most of them are going to be a paid for service type of game. And it's like, as I said before, I really miss the time where I can just go to the store, give the people $60 or whatever, come home, put in the game, and just play it, and the full game is there. And once I'm done, I can either sell it, play it again. I just miss those times, man. I really do. And Ubisoft proved to me that, yeah, those days are long gone, brother, so you might as well get over it. So, overall, I'm going to give the presentation a 2 out of 5, because Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope really impressed me with the trailer, and they showed some of the gameplay for it. So, honestly, it would have been lower, but that game looks so cool that I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. So, that's technically enough. So, not a great way to start off E3. Again, if you guys enjoyed the presentation, I'm really glad that you did, but for me, the only thing that really stood out was Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope. All right, so the next segment that we are going to talk about is going to be the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase, and we will go from there. All right, so as previously mentioned in the Ubisoft Forward presentation that I just talked about on my podcast, we are now going to be going over the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase. I honestly was looking forward to this one. To be honest, I have never owned an Xbox console before. I've actually always been like a Nintendo guy. The only console by Nintendo I've never owned was the Super Nintendo, but I've had the original Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Nintendo GameCube, the Wii, the Wii U, and I have Nintendo Switch. I've also had the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, I've had a 3DS, so I had most of the Nintendo consoles, so I would probably say I'm definitely more of a Nintendo type guy, because again, I love their exclusives, like again, Legend of Zelda, Mario, Metroid, Donkey Kong. Like, I just love those games, man. Like, they're just so good. And Nintendo is one of those people where it's pretty close for me going to the store, buying the game, putting it in and play it. Like, when I played Breath of the Wild for the first time, I got the complete package right out of the box, and that was so awesome to see. And so I was a little curious to see what Xbox was going to present here, because again, they did buy Bethesda, which is a huge studio. So all these big games are going to be on the new Xbox console. And to start off the presentation here, I will say, out of everybody, I think Xbox had the best presentation. They did a really good job of just doing what E3 is supposed to do. It's just showing off games. And there's a few times where people came out and talked, but that was just to introduce more games. And I was like, man, they really got this right. It was really, really good. So again, I don't go over every single game here that they talked about. I'm just going over the ones that kind of stood out to me, and we'll go ahead and get that started here. I'm actually really excited to talk about Xbox here. We got about 14 games that we're going to talk about here. So we'll go ahead and get started, and let's go ahead and get into it. So again, most of the games on here as well are going to the Game Pass subscription service, which again, Sony really needs to step up their game, man, because they need to find a way to compete with that, because Xbox is killing it when it comes to that. They know that this is the way of the future, and so literally you have Game Pass, you can download the game, and it's yours. And I'm like, this is like the coolest thing ever. All these big games are available, and you can just download them at any time that you want. It's seriously the greatest thing in gaming history. Like, it's making history how Xbox is doing this. I do prefer Sony's exclusive games, like Last of Us, Uncharted, God of War, stuff like that. But I mean, honestly, Xbox really is stepping up the game, man, and I'm really excited that I am going to be buying. I'm probably going to get the Xbox Series Xbox Series S when I can eventually get one. I'll get a PS5 with the disc drive, and then an Xbox Series S when I'm able to do so. So let's go and we'll get started here. So the first game they showed off is Starfield. We got a little bit of an in-game teaser. It kind of seems like a Fallout game in space. It looks really, really, really cool. They didn't show much for it, and I haven't really looked up any other gameplay or any other footage behind it, but it honestly looks really, really cool. This actually was the game that got me hyped, saying, okay, I definitely need to get an Xbox as soon as possible, because this game does drop on November 11th, and it is going to be on Game Pass. And also as well, this game is going to be exclusive to Xbox, not going on any other console, which I think is fantastic, because I think the one thing Xbox does struggle with is their exclusive games. I mean, mainly people buy Xbox for Halo, so I'm really hoping Starfield really pushes that forward, because this game looks incredible. I love Fallout open world type games, so this game is right up my alley. So I was like, dang, I need to get an Xbox so I could play Starfield. Seriously, it looks absolutely incredible. The next thing that I caught my attention here was Stalker 2. I didn't know much about it here. It looks pretty cool. It kind of seems like it would be like a hidden gem type of a game. It doesn't drop until April 2022, though, so it is a bit farther away. That game's also going to be on Game Pass. It looked pretty cool. Again, I don't know much about it, but I was like, dang, that does look cool. But again, I think it's awesome that it's going to be available day one with Game Pass. I think that's really, really cool. So the next thing that I saw on here was Back 4 Blood. If people don't know this here, this was actually the people who made Left 4 Dead. I don't know much about this game either, but it looks like a zombie type game that you can play alone or with friends, which again, the way that gaming is nowadays, it's a very social type thing. So I think a lot of people will really enjoy this here. It also is going on Game Pass. It is going to be on October 12th, which I think is really cool. And really quick as well, most of the games in here, I think there's 3 games that are not going to Game Pass. So the rest are, again, I don't talk about every game in the presentation, but most of the games are going to Game Pass, which is really, really cool. The next one is called Contraband. It didn't show much. I actually thought it was the new teaser trailer for the new Indiana Jones game, which Bethesda is making. So Indiana Jones may be an Xbox exclusive. That would be insane. That would be really, really cool. I love Indiana Jones, so honestly, that would be another reason for me to buy an Xbox. Again, I'm a single-player type game, so I honestly am excited for Indiana Jones. But Contraband seemed kind of cool as well. All right, so the next thing on my list here is Sea of Thieves. Now, again, that's an Xbox exclusive as well. I've never played it, but they did add Jack Sparrow to it here, which I actually thought looked pretty cool. Sea of Thieves kind of looked cartoonish for me, which I do like those types of games, but it actually looks like they really took their time, added another element to the story to put Jack Sparrow in, and I thought it was really cool. It doesn't look phoned in. It doesn't go hey, we have a Disney property in our game now. It actually looks really, really cool. I do like Pirates of the Caribbean, the first 2 movies, and so that's kind of cool to see him in. I was like, that's actually pretty sick. So for those who are a fan of Sea of Thieves, that is going to be coming, I think, this year. I think it's this year. I didn't write it down in my notes, but I think it is coming out at the end of the year. All right, so Battlefield 5 is coming out here. I think it's called Battlefield 2042 also is what it's called. I just wrote down Battlefield 5. Now, honestly, I am not a huge fan of Battlefield. I'm not a huge fan of Call of Duty. I'm not a big fan of shooting games in general. There's something about them that I just don't really like it. When I play a game, after a long day of work or a long day of doing whatever, the last thing I honestly want to do is get on a video game and just hang out with people. I just want to go turn on a game, go explore the world that I'm in, and just kind of have time to myself. I'm a very introverted gamer, is what I call it. I am not an online social type gamer. I know a lot of my friends get really mad at me because dude, you need to play with us, but I'm like, I just don't play games online because, again, I just like having that time, to myself. But honestly, Battlefield actually does look really cool. Now, there is a gimmick to this here. The first thing, this is not going on Game Pass. This is going to be also on PlayStation 5 as well and the PC. So the game is going to be $70. It's pretty much confirmed that newer games nowadays coming out probably the end of this year, starting in next year, games are going to start being $70 because these games are so expensive to make. They're like, we have to bump it up. So games are going to be $70. There also is no single player campaign. And so anytime I ever played like Call of Duty or anything, a lot of my friends didn't even care about the single player. They would just go right into the multiplayer. But if I'm paying $60 for a game, I am going to play the single player first and then I jump into the multiplayer. I don't know. The stories are pretty fun and I think they're really cool. Battlefield is a cool looking game. Again, it's $70. There's no single player, but if you're a multiplayer type of person, I don't think that's going to really bother you that much. But from what they showed, the gameplay looks super sick. It looks really awesome. So if you're excited for Battlefield, I think it also comes out this year as well. If not, I think it's early next year. But again, this game is not going on Game Pass. And then Bethesda came out. They gave a couple of updates on some upcoming games that are already out on the market here. So Doom Eternal is going to be getting an update here. They're going to be adding ray tracing and 120 frames per second. That game is going to look smooth like butter. Like seriously, like real, like, you know when you put butter on toast and you just put it on and it's like perfect? That's going to be Doom Eternal once that comes out here in July. That's going to be fantastic. Fallout 76, that game's getting some new content for free. That game had a really rough start, but I think it's definitely gotten better. Again, I don't like Fallout 76. Well, I shouldn't say that because I've never played it. I don't like those types of games that I just mentioned earlier. I like Fallout, but I don't like the social aspect of those types of video games. So if you like Fallout 76, I'm glad people are still playing it, and I'm glad that it's working for you here. So more content is coming very soon. And then also as well, Elder Scrolls Online is getting an update with some more content as well. Again, I love Elder Scrolls. Skyrim was such a fun game. I don't like the online aspect of it. I am just excited for Elder Scrolls 6 whenever that decides to come out. So I'm really excited about that. The next game that kind of caught my attention was a game called Party Animals. It looks pretty fun. It looks like a bunch of stuffed animals fighting each other, and it looks like it'd be an entertaining game to play for maybe a couple of hours when friends come over. That game drops in 2022, and I believe that is going to be on Game Pass as well. Now, here's a game that really stood out to me. It's called Somerville. It's a smaller indie game. It looks really cool. It kind of looks like an end of the world type game where you play as this family trying to survive, and it looks like it's a dark, really cool looking thriller. I don't know. It looks really, really cool, and I was like, it really caught my attention. And to be honest, I need to support indie games more because there are some really good indie games out there. For example, like for me, the biggest indie game that kind of caught my attention was Cuphead, and I really liked Cuphead. It's really hard, but I really enjoyed that game. And then I found other games like Bug Fable and those types of things. So I need to keep an eye out for indie games because sometimes those are the best types of games. So Somerville is coming out here next year, and I think this is going on Game Pass as well. I think it is. So that game looks super cool. I'm really excited for it. So here's the big one. Here is the one that everybody was kind of curious about. They were like, we need to see how this is going to be thrown down. And that's going to be Halo Infinite. And the last time they showed Halo Infinite, it got so much backlash that they're like, okay, we're going to delay this game and try to make it better. Honestly, the game looked fine when I saw it the first time. I'm not a big graphics guy. As long as the game plays well and runs well, graphics are not that big of a deal for me. But I know it is to a lot of people, and I know that people need to keep up with the current state of what video games are supposed to be. But I will say it looks so much better than what it was. Also as well, the multiplayer is going to be free. You do not have to own Halo Infinite. You can just download it once it comes out, and you can play the multiplayer for free. The story also looks really cool. They showed kind of like a story trailer for it. It looks really awesome. And again, the only Halo game that I've really played all the way through was Halo 3 because my buddy Kyle loves that game. I remember watching him play it. I was like, this is actually pretty cool. But he mainly played the multiplayer for that. But honestly, Halo is really cool. I've never like played it for myself, but honestly, once I get my Xbox, I'll definitely check out the story for sure. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And I think the other Halo games are on Game Pass, so it'd be kind of cool to like play through those again, catch up on the story. Because again, Halo is Microsoft's, like, this is their big exclusive. This is the reason why people buy Xbox, is Halo. And I really think Halo Infinite is going to make a really big impact on the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S consoles. The multiplayer and the story mode are dropping on the same day, and it's coming out this holiday. I assume it's probably going to drop, I'm going to guess between September and December, kind of that time frame. I think it's going to be a really good Christmas gift for people, so they're probably planning around that. But again, this is also going on Game Pass, so honestly, there's really no reason to buy it for a Christmas gift unless you don't have Game Pass. But honestly, it pulled a 180. It looks a lot better. It looks really, really cool. So the next game that kind of caught my attention in this presentation was a game called Shredders. Now, I don't know much about this game, but it actually kind of looks like Skate. Y'all remember those Skate games, Skate 1, 2, and 3? And they are doing a Skate 4, which is going to be coming out here hopefully next year, which would be really cool. This game looked like Skate, but was with snowboards. And honestly, it looked really cool. They didn't show much for it, but honestly, that caught my attention. I don't know when it's going to release, but that game also is going on Game Pass as well, which is going to be awesome. So the next big one that totally threw me by surprise, and I don't see a lot of people talking about this for some reason because I love the first game. They confirmed that they're doing Outer Worlds 2, and the trailer was kind of hilarious. It broke the fourth wall, saying stuff like, the game's not done, but we're going to show you this teaser trailer. You know, this is not done. Is this monster going to be in it? We don't know. The Outer Worlds has such meta humor, which I think is really cool. I think it's really awesome. And so the game did not give a release date or anything. I think they just wanted to say, the game's coming out, just stay patient with us. But again, I loved the first game. I thought it was a ton of fun. It was really, really difficult, but I had a lot of fun playing that game. I thought it was super, super entertaining. All right, so the next big game that I saw, and I've never played a single game in this franchise, but it totally caught my attention. It was Forza Horizon 5. Honestly, I'm going to be fair here. They did like a presentation where they kind of talked about the game, how it takes place in Mexico, how it has like photorealistic graphics, a kind of an arcadey type game modes, and playing with friends. This is the best looking game I've ever seen. And obviously, I'm watching it on a computer or on my TV, and I was like, this is the best looking game I've ever seen. This is better than anything on PlayStation. The Xbox is a little bit more powerful than PlayStation 5, and so I think they're really pushing the Xbox to its limit here. It is seriously a gorgeous looking game. I haven't played any of these other games, but I will definitely keep an eye out for this for sure. And the game, I believe, does come out this year, so I'm really excited to check out more of Forza Horizon 5. Again, I never played these before, but this game really caught my attention. I was like, this is super awesome. All right, so getting near the end of the presentation here, Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, came out and he gave his little spiel saying thank you for watching. You know, we acquired Bethesda. We have some cool games coming that aren't here today in the show. And they closed out the show with one more game called Redfall. It looks like another zombie-type game that you can play by yourself or with friends, which looks really cool. Honestly, the way they ended it, I was like, I thought it'd be like maybe a bigger game, maybe something like Fable or Elder Scrolls or something like that. But this is a brand new game called Redfall. It is coming out, I believe, next year. And again, that is going on Game Pass as well. So to kind of give you my overall thoughts and a score on the presentation, I was completely blown away. Everything that was meant to go right for E3 went right for Xbox. I know a lot of people are always saying there's always a console war between PlayStation, Xbox, and then Nintendo's kind of doing their own thing. But honestly, I am blown away of how many games that they showed. I didn't even talk about all the games that were in the presentation in this podcast because there's so many games that they went through. I just went through the games that really stuck out to me. Again, something like Starfield. I'm like, dude, I really want to play Starfield. Even Halo Infinite. I've never played Halo before. Or Forza Horizon 5. I was like, these are incredible looking games and that you can only get those on Xbox. And so, I mean, Xbox is doing something right because it's making me want to go buy an Xbox Series S console. I'm really, really looking forward to playing those new games, and I'm excited to get Game Pass. It's nice that I can buy a console, get the Game Pass, and then I have all these games available to me. It's like I won't have to ever go out and buy a game for Xbox again because it's all going to be there. So I'm super excited when I'm able to get my hands on that. I'm just really excited for Starfield, man. That looks so freaking cool. So overall, honestly, I'm going to give this presentation a 5 out of 5. I thought it was great. It did what it was supposed to do. And Phil Spencer seems like the coolest guy ever. So honestly, I think this presentation was great. Super, super cool. All right, guys. So we're going to go over some more video game news here, but we are first going to take our musical break as we usually do with my podcast, and then we will go from there. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far on the E3 discussion that we're going over here. I've really enjoyed watching all of E3 from the stuff that I watched. There's been a lot of cool game announcements here, and I've been loving video games my entire life. So it's just been really fun to go over the video game through the podcast here. I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I like creating it. So thank you again. I appreciate all your love and support here. So as usual, of course, I love taking a musical break. Today we're going to be checking out a smaller band that I think a lot of people need to check out here. So the song's called Copacetic, and the artist is called Crooked Royals. They are a metalcore band. I actually got requested to do this song on my YouTube channel called Chandler Burton Entertainment, if you guys want to check out the reaction here. This song is a really, really cool song about finding hope in yourself and understanding that sometimes being not okay is okay. And I'm really excited for you guys to check out the song here. And then after that, we'll continue on with the rest of E3. But again, the song's called Copacetic by the band Crooked Royals. I hope you guys enjoy.
Stand to design walls, create divine. Where to draw a line? Consciousness contrived in my own eyes. Despite the saving grace, I need to break this ceiling. I need embrace. If I can seize the game, then I might please my fate. Can you make the change? 'Cause I have lost my way. most creatified.
All right, so welcome back from the musical break. I hope you guys again enjoyed that song. It's been really cool, actually. A lot of people have reached out to me. A lot of my friends and family have told me they've heard a lot of cool songs from my podcast that they now jam like frequently, which I think is really, really cool. Or people from my YouTube channel that have added me on Instagram. They're like, hey, that's a really cool song that you put into the middle of that. So I always love hearing those kind of things. So thank you again for always supporting music. I really appreciate it. Again, music is a huge part of my life, and I want these bands to succeed in what they do. So we're going to go ahead and continue, of course, to talk about E3 here. So we're actually going to be talking about two more segments because those are the only ones that I watched here. So the next segment that we're going to be talking about is going to be Square Enix. And to be honest, this one's going to be a really, really short segment because this was like the worst thing I've ever seen. So to be fair, when I watched this, I thought for sure we'd maybe get something for Tomb Raider because there was a rumor that a new Tomb Raider game was going to be in development here. And honestly, like, I'll be honest, I haven't played the older Tomb Raider games, like from PlayStation 1, 2, and stuff like that. I've played the new Tomb Raider games. So again, the first Tomb Raider, the reboot, and then I played Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and I really like those games. I mean, they're kind of like a multi-platform Uncharted, but I love Uncharted. But honestly, Rise of the Tomb Raider is probably one of the most fun games I've played in a long time. I love that game, man. So I was like really hoping that they would announce something for Tomb Raider, and I was like, please have something. And we did not get anything for Tomb Raider, and I was really bummed. But that's okay. I mean, I can't expect everything to be at these presentations. And so I watched the entire thing, hoping there'd be some Tomb Raider. And there's only really two things that caught my eye in this presentation. So again, this is going to be a really short segment. And we'll go ahead and we'll break that down here for you here. So again, if you want to watch the whole thing, I will link everything in the description on my YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on YouTube, I'll link those below so you can watch those presentations if you are interested in that. So the first thing that I only really cared about here, and I don't see a lot of people talking about it because I don't think a lot of people really care about it either, is the brand new Guardians of the Galaxy reveal that's going to be dropping October 16th, I believe. It's going to be on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox, the Xbox Series S and X, and I believe it's going to be on PC as well. It's actually going to be on the Nintendo Switch. I'm going to talk about that in the Nintendo Switch Direct that we're going to mention here next, but it was pretty cool, and it looks like you can only play as Peter Quill, which is really awesome. I think it's awesome, too, that the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of went from being, like, no names to being some of the biggest names in, like, comic book history. I mean, everyone loves Guardians of the Galaxy, which, again, I love Guardians as well, and I got into one because of the movie, and it's from the same people, of course, who made the Avengers games. Now, the Avengers was definitely a mixed bag. The Avengers video game was okay. It had some moments in there that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the single-player campaign. It's about 8 hours long, and honestly, I had a pretty good time with it. The voice acting was cool. Some of the action was really cool, but it's like the pay-to-win, like Destiny-type loot box multiplayer stuff just didn't really work well for an Avengers type game. I really wish they would have stuck with just like a single player action adventure game and then maybe have some online multiplayer aspects to it, but not like the way Destiny's designed. I feel like that was just a really bad step in the wrong direction. So I'm really hoping Guardians of the Galaxy learns from that mistake, because it didn't really show anything that kind of talked about, like, you know, loot boxes or like pay to win or any Destiny type gameplay. It looks like it's going to be a single player game where you really do play as Peter Quill. I don't know if you're going to be able to play as the other Guardians, but honestly, I'm only excited because I really do like Guardians of the Galaxy. I love both movies. I love them in the Avengers films, and I'm super excited for Guardians 3. So that was the only big thing that really caught my attention in that presentation. And then the other thing as well is that they did do an update and showed a trailer for the brand new Black Panther Avengers update. And it looks pretty cool. Again, as I mentioned, Avengers was such a hit and miss game for me that I don't even know if I want to go back and play it, which that's kind of a lie, because my buddy Dylan, I'm finally mentioning you, buddy. Love you, dude. I actually had 2 copies of the game, and I sent him the other copy. So him and I are going to play that. So I probably won't play it until he gets everything set up at his new place and we get everything going, so I probably won't touch it until then. I'm not sure of the release date for the Black Panther DLC. I know it's going to be free, and it does look pretty cool, but again, it just doesn't want to make me pop it in and play it right now. So honestly, there was a lot more going on with the presentation, but honestly, this is a terrible presentation. There was like nothing going on. It was boring, and they didn't really show anything. I think some people forget that E3 is about video games and getting people excited, and this definitely was not exciting at all. I'm going to give this a 1 out of 5. It freaking sucked horribly. All right, so the final segment before I give my initial thoughts on the entire E3 and the things that stood out to me here is that we are now going to talk about the Nintendo Direct E3 2021. As I mentioned before earlier in the podcast, I am a huge Nintendo fan. I'd probably say out of all 3 of the consoles, I'm definitely more Nintendo. I grew up with Nintendo, and I've had a lot of good memories with all their consoles, and some of my favorite games of all time are on Nintendo consoles. Like, for example, Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door on the Nintendo GameCube is legitimately like my favorite game of all time. I absolutely love that game. And so I always look forward to Nintendo's directs or presentations that they have, whether it's E3 or if they just drop a direct. It's always fun just to watch and see what they're going to announce, because you never know with Nintendo. You never know what they're going to announce. And honestly, this presentation was okay. It wasn't too bad. They did announce quite a few things here. There was a lot of filler of games I didn't really care about. So again, I'm just going to go over the things that really stood out to me, which was quite a bit, and then we'll go ahead and go from there. I also did a reaction to the Direct on my YouTube channel, Chandler Burton Entertainment. If you just type in Chandler Burton Entertainment Nintendo, you'll be able to watch my reaction to the entire presentation if you are curious to know my thoughts about every game that was in there. So we'll go ahead and get started here. I have Nintendo's website pulled up, so I'm just going to go through the things that I saw that I enjoyed, and we will go from there. So the first thing that started off here was brand new Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Kazuya from Tekken is going to be joining the battle. He is the 4th or 5th fighter in the Fighters Pass, so it means there's one more available. A lot of people were expecting Crash Bandicoot, which I really thought it was going to be Crash Bandicoot, but maybe they're going to be saving that for like the final one, saying like this is the big one that everyone's been waiting for. But Tekken's actually pretty cool. When they showed the gameplay for it, it actually looked like Tekken. It did not look like Super Smash Bros. At all. I was like, that is actually really, really, really cool. I was like, I'm excited to play him. And then Sakurai is going to do like a presentation of Kazuya, like I think next week, and so I'll definitely keep my eye out for that for sure. I'm really excited to check that out here. And then again, it kind of goes through all these Japanese RPG stuff that honestly I'm not a huge fan of, so you'll have to forgive me. I don't really like talking about those because I'm just not really interested in here. And then so again, pulling up their website, looking through the games here, they talked a little bit more about Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which is kind of weird because Ubisoft showed off a trailer, and then Nintendo's like, hey, we're going to put it in ours too just to fill more time. So literally there was nothing new in the Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope trailer that they presented. It's the same gameplay footage and the same trailer, just a little bit shorter. And they didn't give a concrete release date. It's still just set for 2022. Which I hope it's early 2022 because I really want this game, but please take your time with it because the first game, in my opinion, is just so fun. As I mentioned, I put like 110 hours plus into that game, so super fun game. All right, so the next one that actually caught me off guard that I kind of wish had their own big presentation was Mario Party Superstars. Now, I am a big Mario Party fan. I bought Super Mario Party thinking that it's going to be return to form for Mario Party, because Mario Party 9 and Mario Party 10, you were stuck in a car playing with other people, and it just wasn't very fun. I was like, this is not fun. I don't like this. And then Super Mario Party came back. It had the game modes that we missed. It had like the boards and those types of things, but the only problem is that the boards were so small, and there really wasn't much challenge to it. It did have the original form of where 4 people go, and then you play a mini game trying to get stars. Like, it had that aspect, but the boards were so small, they were not interesting. It really lost my interest in that. It had some other modes in there too. Like, it had like the river survival mode, which my sisters and I like playing. But honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of Super Mario Party, but Mario Party Superstars looks really cool because it's going to bring back 5 boards from the original Mario Party. So it's going to have like Peach's birthday cake. I know there's one in space. It's going to be like traditional Mario Party with new characters. And also, the biggest thing that they announced that should have been included with Super Mario Party is that online play is going to be out of the box. We have all wanted Mario Party Online, and not just to play with your friends, but to play with other people. And they finally confirmed that you'll be able to go online, play with other people, and play Mario Party. It's taken us forever to get this mode, but we finally are going to get it in Mario Party Superstars. I'm so excited to play this game online, whether it's with my friends or just random people. Like, I don't even care if you can't talk to them or not. It's like that finally we're going to get that. It's like, Nintendo, you're taking a step in the right direction with this franchise. So honestly, I'm already going to like this game better than Super Mario Party. Again, it may be using old boards and some of the old mini games, but it's a step in the right direction for what I want Mario Party to be. So we got a couple more games that I want to go over here as well. Another game that shocked me was we're getting a brand new WarioWare game called Get It Together. I used to play WarioWare all the time. I had it for my GameCube, and my favorite one was actually on the Wii with WarioWare Smooth Moves. You could play up to like 12 people on that game, and we had so much fun playing those games. It was such a fun, awesome game. And it looks like on this game as well, we are going to get some multiplayer. So I'm really excited. I know a lot of people have kind of forgotten about WarioWare, but honestly, WarioWare was such a fun game. It's like, man, I'm happy they're doing another one. I'm really stoked that we're getting more WarioWare. I'm really looking forward to that here. Another game that I'm actually kind of interested in here is honestly Mario Golf Super Rush. I mean, the game comes out next week, and so they just wanted to make sure people are reminded, like, hey, the game's coming out, make sure you buy it. But they actually showed off a lot of cool modes. You got your standard golf, right, which actually looks pretty fun. I actually really liked Wii Golf on Wii Sports. I don't know why. I don't play golf in real life, but I like that. But they also have other modes where, like, if you hit the ball, you can, like, chase after your ball, and the first one to get into the hole wins. And then they also have, like, a battle mode that kind of looks like Mario Kart a little bit. And then they have, like, another mode where you play as your Mii, and it kind of looks like a kind of an open world a little bit type of game. So the game actually looks a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Sometimes with golf games, you're like, I don't know. But Mario sports games always mix it up here a little bit. And honestly, it looks pretty good. I'm really looking forward to Mario Golf Super Rush. Really looking forward to that here. Another game that caught my attention was Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. So Monkey Ball is going to be 20 years old this year, and they decided to do a compilation of some of the older games. So I thought it was actually pretty cool. I've only played like a couple of Monkey Ball games, but if you are a fan of that, then definitely go in and get ready for that, because it's going to be super sick. Then they announced a couple other games that we kind of already knew about here. So again, Just Dance 2022 is going to be there. They actually announced that the Ancient Gods DLC for Doom Eternal is going to be available today. So if you have Doom Eternal on your Switch, you can download that and you can play the game. Super, super fun. Also, another game that I'm super happy is coming to Switch, and I will buy it again because I loved it on PlayStation 4, is that Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 is confirmed to come to the Switch, and it's actually coming out next week. It's going to be both Pro Skater games 1 and 2, and those games are actually a lot of fun. I've been playing again on my PlayStation 4. I've been having a blast playing that game. So honestly, I'm really looking forward to that game. I hope it's just as good. It looks pretty fun, so I'm really looking forward to that here. Also, as well, what kind of caught my attention is that we just mentioned that Guardians of the Galaxy that's coming out here is also confirmed for the Nintendo Switch. Now, the Avengers did not make it to the Nintendo Switch, so I'm actually really curious to see why Avengers didn't make it, but Guardians is. I'm not entirely sure, but maybe they have more faith in this one. Maybe they'll be like, hey, Guardians is some people say Guardians is better than the Avengers, so we'll see how that goes. So really looking forward to that. Should be a lot of fun. And then again, they showed a bunch of other games that I don't really care as much about. They got like Life is Strange. They got other stuff for Monster Hunter, Fatal Frame, other games like that I've never really played before. You know, Cruisin' Blast, that was like an arcade game that's being transferred over to the Nintendo Switch. That's going to be an exclusive. They got Advance Wars, which I never heard of before. So a lot of games I didn't really know of, but didn't really catch my attention. But the last two that I want to talk about here are actually going to be, of course, we're going to talk about Breath of the Wild last. But we're going to talk about here a game that totally took me off guard. Is going to be Metroid 5. It's called Metroid Dread, but it's technically Metroid 5. Now, a lot of people get confused when it comes to Metroid. The Metroid Dread game is going to be, it's a 2D side-scrolling type game. So like from the original Nintendo games, for the Game Boy Advance game. So this is technically Metroid 5, and it's called Dread. It looks really cool. The graphics look cool. Again, it's going to be one of those games, probably like where the frick do I go type of games. But honestly, the graphics look cool. The action looks really cool. The last 2D game that we got actually was on Nintendo 3DS, which was Samus Returns, which I think was a remake of Metroid Prime 2, I believe. I could be wrong about that. I'm more of a Metroid Prime type guy. Those are two different series. And speaking of Metroid Prime, man, I feel so bad for that game. That game totally has gotten like the raw end of the deal, where they just have not talked about that game. Even though they said that development is going well on the game, they had to cancel it because the other people who were making it was just, like, apparently it was awful. Apparently it was like just terrible. So they gave the game back to Retro Studios, and they've been working on it for the past couple of years. And all they said was the game was going well, and that's it. So I guarantee you, we're not going to see Metroid Prime 4. This game was announced in 2017. We're not going to get Metroid Prime 4 probably until 2023, 2024. If they're not talking about it right now, it means the game's just not ready to show. And again, take your time with it, of course, because I love the Metroid Prime games. Again, I had the first two on my GameCube, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, and I had the third one on Nintendo Wii, Metroid Prime Corruption. So I'm really looking forward to the fourth one, but Metroid Dread actually does look fun. This will definitely hold me over until the new Metroid comes out for sure. Metroid is such an underrated franchise. I feel like more people really need to check it out because it's got a really cool story, and it's just a really fun action-adventure platforming game. More people definitely need to check it out here. And then, of course, the big boy that we're going to talk about here is Legend of Zelda. Now, when they said we had one more thing to show, they cut to Hyrule Warriors expansion pack, which the first one's coming out here next week, and then the other is going to be released in November. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty fun. I put about 30 hours into Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Not a bad game. I actually really like it a lot. But I'll definitely play it again. I have the expansion pass, so we'll see how that plays out here. I'll have to pop it in and play it again. They also finally acknowledged the Zelda 35th anniversary a little bit. They talked a little bit more about Skyward Sword, kind of showing how it's going to look here. It looks like they updated the graphics a little bit. It looks really good. I have played a part of Skyward Sword. I know the story of it, but I didn't own it on the Wii, mainly because I just wasn't a fan of the motion controls. But now that it's coming on Switch with more traditional controls, I'm super excited to play and check out the game. I'm excited to play it all the way through. And again, this is the first part in the timeline. Skyward Sword is the first official game of the Legend of Zelda series. So if you're interested about the Master Sword, why they call it the Legend of Zelda, if you have a Switch, definitely pick this game up. It's a really, really good story. Then they also showed a Legend of Zelda Game & Watch, which is actually pretty cool. It includes 3 games. It's got The Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, and then it also has Link's Awakening, which actually had a remake on the Switch that came out in 2019. And then they have another built-in Zelda game that looks pretty fun. So honestly, it looks pretty cool. I think that releases in October as well. But of course, the big boy was the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the first game, is one of the best games ever created. And I will say this, I love Ocarina of Time, but I gotta say Breath of the Wild, I think, takes the cake for me. When it comes to gameplay, when it comes to action, the story in Ocarina of Time, I think, is better, but overall, Breath of the Wild totally just blew me away. It is seriously one of the best games ever created. And so, finally, we got a little more footage for Breath of the Wild 2. We got no name for it yet. Apparently, it's supposed to be called Second Breath, which sounds kind of weird. But it showed a little more gameplay. It looks like it's going to take place in the sky this time, which is pretty cool, which makes me think that we may go back to Skyloft in this game. I really do believe this game is going to have like a night and dark system to it. We'll see how that goes. But again, it showed off a little bit of Link's new powers, like with the Sheikah Slate, kind of more advanced powers. It showed a little bit more of Ganondorf. It didn't show him talking or moving or anything. It showed a little bit more. It showed Zelda jumping in, well, falling into into a ditch, pretty much. So that kind of made people speculate that we might not be able to play as Zelda. But again, they did not show as much. I think they're really trying to save this game for when it's completely ready. But they did confirm that they are shooting for a 2022 release date, which they've been working on this game since 2017. So they're really putting in a lot of work on this game. And I really hope it's worth the wait. If it's better than Breath of the Wild, then I'm okay with the wait. And I'm okay with games being delayed if it's going to make the game better. Again, after looking at games like Cyberpunk 2077, I am okay with games waiting. That is not a problem. But again, I was really happy to see Zelda here. My overall thoughts on it is that the Direct was pretty good. It had a lot of filler stuff that I didn't care about, and I was like, let's move on to something else. But again, Legend of Zelda really saved itself, I think, for a lot of people. So honestly, I'm going to give the Nintendo Direct a 3 out of 5. It was awesome to see a little more footage for Breath of the Wild 2, and it was cool to see stuff like Mario Party and WarioWare and those types of games. So I'm really looking forward to those games coming out this year. But again, Breath of the Wild really saved it for me here. I cannot wait to get more information about that game. So again, I give it about a 3 out of 5. All right, so this part of the podcast here, I'm just going to quickly go over just some of the highlights for me that I really enjoyed about this year's E3. Again, I did not watch all of the segments because, again, there are some that just didn't really interest me. For example, like Capcom, I just didn't really care about those types of things. So I just watched the ones that I really care about here. But overall, I really enjoyed E3 this year. I really think that it was nice to have it again. I was kind of worried, like, again, even though we have COVID's getting a little bit more under control, I was like, we're probably not going to get an E3 again. But luckily, I was proven wrong, and I'm happy that it came back. Now, was I satisfied with everything? Absolutely not. Again, all the presentations that I watched here, besides like Ubisoft, everything honestly was pretty good. A lot of stuff had a lot of filler with games that are like, we'll just throw that in to make the time longer. And I wish people would stop doing that. I wish they would just show games that they instead of wanting to fill that 90-minute or 40-minute runtime or whatever, just show us the games that you are currently working on. We don't need to know about these filler games that are just like these small indie. Well, indie games are cool, but like these smaller games that people just don't really care about, or if they're really far away, it's like, why are you guys showing this now? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But again, some of the highlights for me here, going through my notes, I really am looking forward to, I want to check out Riders Republic from the Xbox conference. Again, I think it's a games to service type of game. But again, if it's what I think, like a snowboarding, dirt bike kind of racing game, I definitely want to take a look into that here. That looks really cool. As much as I complained about Far Cry 6, I do want to check out the game. It looks really cool. It looks like a lot of fun. And the guy who played Gideon from The Mandalorian, Moff Gideon, he's actually like the villain in this game, and I like him as an actor, so I think that's actually pretty cool. Again, I'm really looking forward to Mario & Rabbids Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Again, probably one of my most anticipated games announced during the entire E3 in general. I think it's really, really cool. And again, there's other games going through my list here. Again, I'm really excited for Starfield. I'm really excited for The Outer Worlds Part 2, which again, that game is a little while off here. Really looking forward to that. And honestly, Shredders actually looks pretty cool as well. Again, it looks like Skate, but with snowboard, so I am looking forward to that here. And then honestly, Forza Horizon 5, again, I've never played any of those games before, but it looks really, really, really cool. Like, man, I really need to play this game. It looks awesome. And then again, I am excited for Guardians of the Galaxy. I like single-player, third-person action adventure games, so I really feel like that game's going to be right up my alley. I just hope that it doesn't really pull the whole Avengers-type thing where it's like a Destiny-type gameplay where you got to, like, collect loot and it just doesn't lead to anything. I really hope that they don't have that kind of stuff in there. If they have a multiplayer segment, I hope it's like maybe like a team deathmatch or a capture the flag. Just please don't do what you did with the Avengers. Avengers had a really fun and cool campaign, and I'm really hoping Guardians just kind of sticks to just being a single-player game. I'd rather have it be that than force multiplayer for sure. And then again, most of my exciting stuff came out of Nintendo. Again, the biggest one being The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Again, we don't know what that game is going to be about, like the title or what it really is going to be about, but I'm really excited that it's apparently coming out next year. I am looking forward to that here. They announced some other cool stuff, again, like WarioWare, Mario Party, Tony Hawk. So I'm really excited. There's a lot of games on there that I am looking forward to from the Nintendo Direct. But overall, I'd say out of all the presentations that I watched together, I'm going to give the whole experience probably about a 3 out of 5. Again, there's a lot of moments where it's just a lot of filler and it was really boring, and I'm just like, I really just don't care about any of this here. But then again, the stuff that they did show and all the conferences that I did watch, I'm like, this is awesome. Like, a lot of those games really made up for the crappiness that we saw. And again, E3 is never perfect, you know. Again, look at Square Enix. I'm going to talk like 2 things out of Square Enix. So again, overall, I give the whole E3 experience for what I watched about a 3 out of 5. I love watching E3, and I always will. Like, I'm not going to never not watch E3, because it is fun to figure out what games are coming out here, what games are going to be released in the next upcoming year and stuff. So I am looking forward to a lot of games on this list here. Again, of course, Breath of the Wild 2 is going to take the cake for me. I mean, that's the game I'm most excited for. Out of everything that I watched, I just want Breath of the Wild 2. I mean, that's the kind of game I live for, man. So again, overall, I really enjoyed the presentation, and I hope you guys enjoy listening to it here. And again, this has been the Chandler Burton Podcast here. If you would like to check out some of my other stuff on my YouTube channel, I have a YouTube channel called Chandler Burton Entertainment. You can just type that in on YouTube. This podcast is going to be uploaded on YouTube. It's also going to have pictures of what parts we're going to be talking about, and links below in the descriptions of things that you want to watch. And so definitely keep an eye out for that here. But again, for those listening on Spotify, Apple Music, or any other streaming services, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your day for listening to me talk about video games for over an hour. I really do appreciate that. And again, keep an eye out for new episodes generally every Friday. I'm going to be uploading this here a little bit early so more people can listen to it here. But every Friday I try to upload my podcast again on Spotify, Apple Music, and all streaming services, and on YouTube as well. But again, this has been the Chandler Burton Podcast. Until next time, I hope you all take care.